Hello everyone, Vanguard of Valor here, and welcome back to the Sunless Sea. We've just finished our business here in the Grand Geode, and it's time for us to once again set sail into the south. And so, onwards we sail. Who knows what else we'll find down here? What mysteries await us? Such as a golden ship. A very strange sight indeed. Hopefully not one which is hostile, but it would not surprise me were they to turn on us suddenly. Let us hide from their sights. Unfortunately, we were unable to do so quickly enough. We must flee. Ooh! A great shot strikes our side. The glorious dreadnought is after us. We've discovered Runeshmi Port, although there is no port to be seen there. We've discovered Hodgerton's Bluff as well. I think we've evaded our pursuers. Well, perhaps our journey to the south must be mitigated somewhat, as a nasty strike against the hull puts us back quite a ways. Some of the foes which make their home out in the Z are terrible, terrible indeed. What does the Z-Bat know? It knows the Dawn Machine is a long way to the southwest. Well, we've just missed it. Let's attempt to evade this golden ship and see if we can't find out what the Dawn Machine involves. We still have a great deal of fuel and other supplies, so this trip should not be too difficult to make. But who knows what we might discover. That glorious dreadnought is right in the way where we wish to explore. No, I didn't want to do that. Toggle the lights. Move onwards. Can we sneak past unseen? Well, I think we've discovered the Dawn Machine. What it is, we may never know. But we've certainly discovered it. Let's leave this place before something horrible happens to us. That golden monstrosity hunts us down, and there's no port at the Dawn Machine. It's simply a very, very strange discovery. For now, it is time for us to move along. Whew. The worrisome light of the Dawn Machine behind us. We make our way out for new ports. Does our Z-Bat detect anything nearby? No, there are no islands within the Z-Bat's range. We are in dangerous waters, however. The southern coastline is host to a very nasty, nasty creature indeed. Hopefully we will not run into them here, but if we do, we'll have to flee. The Carnelian coast, far to the south, the neath roof glimmers above, the Mountain of Light. Port Carnelian stands directly toward the east here. We have been lucky today. No horrors have awaited us on the journey here, although there one lies. Wax wind blows from the south, the engines labor. Sailors cry out and fall. We slow to a crawl in the waxen winds. But we're able to escape their clutches and reach Port Carnelian, after all. London's first Untersea colony sweats under a blanket of southern heat. Fallen London's sole imperial possession. To the right of the dock, the sapphire mines yawn. To the left, the governor's house stands, prim as an Elderwick mansion. Behind lies the fungal jungle, ghostly in white and violet. Well, well indeed. Here we are. We have no affairs in Port Carnelian, we have no port report in Port Carnelian, so we can acquire one from one of those locations. We can pan for sapphires in the fungal jungle if we risk taking a vast risk. And we can insinuate an agent into Port Carnelian. If we had a diplomatic agent, some echoes, and a desire to create a network here. For now, however, we shall not do so. We can call in at the governor's house, we can call in at a tiger, or we can call in at a bookshop. For now, I think we'll call in at Heart's Cross House. The governor is very, very busy. An attaché offers us a bowl of sugared puffballs that explains the work the governor does amongst the natives. Got to keep them happy, what? After all, they are tigers. Indeed. Well, it looks like there's not much else we can do here as it stands. The shops are around. Fuel at a reasonable price. Supplies at a reasonable price. The Sapphire Exchange. With mountain sherd. A most unusual thing. Struck from the side of the Mountain of Light, who is the god called Stone. It is holy. We can use it to summon Mountain Nomad. That sounds most mysterious. But we have nothing else we can do here, and so we take once more to the sea. Port Carnelian, your mysteries remain such, as we are unable... Aha! This is worth fleeing. This is worth fleeing with all possible speed. We must run. Run from the horrors that approach there, between two vortexes. The danger of staying there vastly outweighs the danger of passing between such dangerous terrain. Those blue birds are much more dangerous than you might immediately guess. The Utter Shroom is some distance to the north, however, and so we make our way there to discover what it may hide. The water is sluggish with hyphal threads. Violet vegetable bulks break the surface. We travel onwards to the Mycalogea, underneath this colossal mushroom. And we arrive at the Utter Shroom. The queenly core of the spore-haunted sea. We climb the fungal fiber ladders to its summit. Shaggy, suspicious villagers scratch a living here, amidst endless clouds of spores and scurrying mobs of plant-animal hybrids. None of them ever leave. One explains darkly, "The sea is full of monsters." Well, we can visit the village if we choose. They're hospitable? Not exactly, but they don't usually chase you off with sticks, and they usually let you sit beside their mildew-smelling fire. Well, let us do so. The central contradiction of Shroomer existence. They hate the Utter Shroom, but they do anything to avoid leaving. Monsters. Today, they're telling the story of how they came here. It features a shipwreck, a rain of orange jewels, the Mother's blessing. There's a great deal about adversity and survival, and wistful hints about their homeland, somewhere to the west. We've gained a memory of distant shores. We can trade honey here, should we choose so. Honey, the Shroomer explains. Everyone wants honey. Life on the Utter Shroom is unvarying and occasionally deadly poisonous. The Shroomers are desperate for the diversion that prisoners' honey can bring, but vague about what they can pay in return. Supplies, though, at least. We can also gather some intelligence, so we'll do that quickly as well. The village is of a shabby but sufficient life. The Utter Shroom provides. They are secretive, taciturn, and curious. Ships rarely visit. Let us trade a cask of prisoner's honey. We have one, and we'll see what they give us. Honey, Schumer explains. Everyone wants honey. Life continues. The Schumers pile up slabs of sweet mauve shroom flesh. It's nourishing, although it does taste rather like muddy horse. They also generously throw in a Blemmigan, a whistling, eyeless, mobile fungus thing. Problems? Throw it in sea. No room? Throw it in sea, She shrugs. Probably its swim. If not, plenty of room in the sea. We gain 1 docile Blemigan and 1 supply. Interesting. Not sure what we'll do with a Blemigan. It has claws, has a fierce double beak, but just now it seems disinclined to use them. Assay? Interesting. I don't know what this means. Oh. Oh, interesting. It tells you how much it's worth in Fallen London. That's really interesting. That is a very interesting fact. Okay. We have the ability to judge the value of these things. For now, we head out from the Uttershroom to make our way once again on the Sunless Sea. There must be more out here waiting for us to discover it. And so, we sail. With only 6 fuel remaining to us, however, our options are limited, so we will not travel far. Fuel is the curse of the sailor upon the sea. There is never enough. What happened here? We discovered a Connaught War Timoran. Alright, let's travel. Before it decides to attack us here. It was stuck on the mushroom, and I was unprepared for such a sight. For now, we venture onwards. Our high-speed travels have been remarkably successful, however. Remarkably free of terrible catastrophes. We'll drop in at Demure's Gate at the Iron Misery Co. Funging Station to acquire another report of the port. There we go. Once here, we can accept a volunteer aboard as well, and perhaps we will. We compile a port report here. There we go. We have the option to put a Blemigan ashore. I'm not sure if we want to start spreading these across the lands, but it's an interesting thought, at least. We can explore Demure Island if we choose. We can take tea with the Factor, which we will, because we have not before now. We sit on the veranda of the Factor's house, looking out over the fungal jungle, an expanse of green and sour gold. The air is thick with hovering spores. The scones are stale. Even the tea has a hint of mildew. But the Factor is good company. He shares odd stories about the ice and roses of Aram, the monstrosities of the Sea of the Lilies, and a little restaurant in Venderbite where he enjoyed the most extraordinary seafood. Venderbite! I know. I'd never met a tomb colonist who could cook. You must visit the place. Do you know it? He also has a load of Balagus frond carted aboard our ship. He waves away our thanks. I have eaten so much of the stuff I fear I might be transformed entirely into fungus. He leads confidentially towards you. It happens, you know, but one does have to eat rather a lot of it first. We've been told of an exceptionally fine restaurant in Venderbite. We've gained 6 fragments, a supply, and lost 2 terror. That's all for now. Well, I guess we can't take on anybody anymore. For now, we head back out to sea. It looks as though our assailant has lost interest in us, so we should hopefully be able to make good on our journeys. We have a good deal of fuel remaining to us. We'll head over in this direction perhaps, and then head back to Fallen London should there be nothing there. Hopefully our travels are most illuminating. For now, we simply sail. The sea is dark, but we are much better equipped than we have been in the past when heading out to explore. So who knows what we may find out here. New mysteries or new horrors. It's difficult to say. Our Z-Bat has been unhelpful thus far, finding nothing new to interest us with. Creeping tendrils of fungus, Z-weed, unnameable flora. We enter the snares. We find Lickamonkey Crag. What else is hidden away in this place? Pigman Isle is some way to the east. Well, perhaps we'll head there before we return home once again. Another great whirlpool. The Dubois Maelstrom spins below us. Most worrying. For now, however, we head off to Pigman Isle. A strange place, to say the least. We've discovered the port of Saints Haven, where we will indeed make port, and discover the story of Pigman Isle. On a lonely desert beach, there's no habitation in sight, no market, only an old, rotting dock. No shops at all, in fact. While we're here, could we in fact speak with our first officer? She has the discomforting, even irritating habit of answering our questions just before we finish speaking. We could invite her to dine with us, but we'd need to use our searing enigmas and our supplies. We can use her to increase our mirrors skill with our secrets, and we can do that indeed. We can ask her something. We don't have Salt's song, so that is not an option for us at the moment. Let's increase our mirrors with our secrets. We have 13, after all. She says little, but each word is placed like a pin in a map. Being able to increase our ability to fire in combat would most certainly be useful. So for now, we spend some time chatting with the Carnelian exile to increase our mirrors. There we go. Alright, for now we return to this Pigman Isle's lonely desert beach. A stretch of sand thickens into damp, black earth from which sprout stunted palms? Not quite. Tall fungal growths with frond-like caps, as if someone had sculpted the idea of a tree from a mushroom. We disembark. As we step on the quay, we hear clamor, shouts, and shooting. We can see off in the distance smoke rising from beyond the hill, and dots of fire flecking the horizon. Two tiny figures stand a little further down the quay, unmoving, as if awaiting our approach. The following is the extract of the popular Diary of a Z Captain, from London to Ireland, what we did there before we arrived. Washed ashore on Mutton Island, and subsequently serialized in the Unexpurgated Gazette. The author's identity remains unknown. The tale of Pigman Isle, in which a delegation is made, a choice is presented, war is declared, a most singular treasure is sought by all, and a new empire is founded with tooth and claw. A literary interlude. Chapter 1. The Delegation. The figures were rodents. To my left was Aratus Faber, wearing goggles, a blacksmith's apron, and an assortment of tools. To my right, an unusually large guinea pig, wearing a helmet and a breastplate reminiscent of nothing so much as the High Middle Ages. The rat stepped forward first and bowed. "Welcome, Captain, to Rat Star Island. I am Edgar, Second Chief Engineer of the 3rd Rat Brigade. I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at our expense. The only cost to you is a choice." The rat stepped back at precisely the same moment. With what appeared to be the ease of long habit, the guinea pig scuttled forward and made a declamatory chirp. "Welcome, Captain, to the Isle of Cavia. I am Lady Augusta Devereux Swinch of the Blackwater Swinches, Seneschal of our King Raisnor, first of his name. I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at our expense. The only cost to you is a choice." The two stood at attention, looking at me expectantly. Who did we speak to in the story? Interestingly enough, this story used to be the full event here, but this seems to not be the case anymore, so who knows what's going on. Did we speak to the chief engineer? Did we speak to the seneschal? I think we spoke to the chief engineer. His eyes had a wave-cold glint to them, and he wore his scars like jewels. I asked the chief engineer to elaborate. He looked at me for a long, measured moment before speaking gruffly. "We came to this island to make a home for ourselves away from London, its cats and snuffers, its rat-skin suits. We came to live as citizens of our own republic. We came with our tools, our teeth, our clever hands, and made a beautiful city by the light of the Rat Star that shone brightly in blue on Mount Ararat." The chief engineer nodded toward the distant hill. "One day we braved the depths of the chicken woods, and from the top of Mount Ararat we plucked the Rat Star to be our light, our beacon. But the pigs of Cavi saw the light, and they lusted for it. They sent armies to rule us and steal our star. We will not permit them to take what is ours. We will resist to the last breath. Will you join us in defeating them?" Let's speak to the seneschal. The seneschal cleared her throat with a delicacy to rival the Duchess's own before speaking.
"Grace Gnaw the king, our lord and sovereign, full 7 months had sojourned on the sea, conquered this land and won the southern main. Now no fortress against him shall remain, no city walls for him to gain, save the rats that squeak behind the mountain. Unlikely was the lamb of our deliverance, assured shall our glories in their fall, when our lady's eye restored be to our hall."
The seneschal composed herself, then added,
"We saw truth and beauty by the light of Our Lady's eye on Mount Caveat, but the rats with their guns and their chatter and their peasants' politics stole it from us. We will subjugate them and take it back. They are a rabble, and we will rule them with the steel-shod velvet of our paws. Will you join us?"
It was time to make a choice. The rat seemed grumpy but honest, and we all knew all too well what rat-made weapons can do. And there was also the charm, or the fondness for London's rat-skin coats that swayed us, perhaps a little of both. At the moment, however, we sided with the chief engineer. Or perhaps we'd attempt to broker a peace. That would be an interesting option. We are indeed very well-knowledged. Let us attempt to broker a peace. Surely their commonalities were more numerous than their differences, and perhaps we could help them get along. The chief engineer and the seneschal shared a look, then regarded me with a scornful amusement.
"Yes," smirked the chief engineer, "you're obviously much cleverer than us."
"Oh, much," murmured the seneschal.
"You clearly know us much better than we know ourselves."
Apparently idealism would not help here, so instead we sided with the chief engineer. He seemed grumpy, but honest, and we knew all too well what mat-made weapons can do. I extended a finger to the chief engineer, who shook it grimly. The seneschal hissed and chattered her teeth in disgust, but kept her distance.
"You've made the right choice," said the chief engineer. "Let me show you around."
We are now helping the rats. We gain a supply to fuel, though, which apparently helps us out in this time, as much sense as that makes. The chief engineer led me to the northern side of the island, skirting the chicken woods. We passed through a number of what can only be termed checkpoints, as fierce-eyed rats shouldered their derringers and saluted the chief engineer. Soon we came upon a small colony, smaller than some of the infestations I had encountered in London flats, perhaps only 50 Redis favored altogether, working diligently to fortify their side of the island. The first thing I noticed was a brilliant light beaming out from a stump of chickenwood about 6 feet high. It bathed the whole settlement in a clean blue glow, and was almost too bright to look at. By its light I could see several raised mounds of earth, suggesting shallow tunnels. An efficient fishing operation was set up by the water, an albino rat mending nets while others stabbed sharpened sticks into the waves. Further inland was a barracks where a sergeant barked drills at a small squadron of fighters. My arrival drew attention, and several rats paused in their work to look at me curiously.
"Welcome to Muriana," said the chief engineer, voice warm with pride. "It's not much to look at now, but it will be once we've rousted the cavies. Take a stroll around while I summon the war council."
With that, he vanished into one of the mounds and left me to explore. We can visit the barracks, we can take a closer look at the rat star, we can head down to the beach, or finish our exploration entirely. Of course, we'll take the other options first. The drill sergeant appeared to be sizing me up. Were the few rats around her really all she had to launch an attack? I approached the drill sergeant and went so far as to salute her, which earned me a grunt of satisfaction. The sergeant dismissed her troops and offered me a bit of chickenwood jerky to gnaw on.
"There's more of us below ground," she explained, "but not enough. The cavies are bigger, and there's more of them. We're better with weapons, but we haven't got the stuff to make them with. Most of us came here as stowaways and brought nothing but food, tools, and the fur on our backs. We can fish and we nibble at chickenwoods, but we can't make guns out of trees. The cavies came here with their own steamer and seem to have endless supplies. We raid them sometimes, but there's so few of us, and we can never hold on to territory gained for long. That's of no consequence. All we want is to be left peacefully to build our republic. And the rat star," she added thoughtfully after a moment. "Of course, we want that too." Well, let's take a closer look at this rat star. An excitable-looking rat was peering at it through smoky goggles, twitching her whiskers, and making notes on what appeared to be real paper. Blue as a sapphire, but endlessly more brilliant. "It's not a star, of course, but not really. But try explaining that to the others. The chief engineer doesn't want me working too hard to convince them. Says this is better for morale, but just look at it. Look! She offered me her goggles. I managed to work them over just enough of one of my eyes to see the truth of what she was studying. It was scintillac, but unlike any I'd seen before. Blue as a sapphire, but more brilliant. Something about the clarity of its color was tremendously soothing. The chief science officer tittered with pleasure as I handed her goggles back. Those of us who have been to the Cavy side of the island and lived to tell of it said there's plenty of glow there, plenty of bright in the water all round, but nothing like this. We took this from the island's center, Mount Ararat. Only it's not a mountain, of course, any more than this is a star. It's hollow. There's sweet water inside and coral climbing all up the walls of it, but nothing that glows save this. It's ours now, and no one can take it from us. You did kind of steal it, though. We head down to the beach and heard of a rat mending a net. An albino rat smiled up at me from his mending work, looking dainty and a little shy. Chickenwood floats, especially when it's dried out and sealed, so we're able to paddle out a bit and cast our nets. We come up with all sorts of things. Blind fish, crabs, sometimes a broken tentacle. But the fishing would never be so good without the rat's star, he beamed. I think it only draws good fish and keeps the scary ones at bay. I know the chief science officer doesn't believe it, but I do. That light is our livelihood. Well, let's see what happens as the bells of the War Council ring. We were summoned. The chief engineer emerged from underground with a motley assortment of other rats. He introduced them as weapons experts, strategists, and field commanders. So, you're going to help us beat the Cavies, he said, a hard edge to his voice. But how, exactly? We had nothing to offer but our advice. We take a modest challenge here. Or, we can take a very chancy challenge here. We can offer our strategic assistance, a distraction so the LBs could use to plunder the Cavies' ship and return the tide in their favor. Or we had a ship with cannons. We could steer her to the southern side of the island and have at those uppity animals. Our chances of success are better with strategic assistance. Still not good, but we'll take it. We'll give it a try. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully we prove fortunate, and our side does not fall here. A questing beast. I dressed up one of me sailors in a mess of shabby cloth smeared with prisoner's honey and instructed him to roll around in the black earth of the island. Soon we had a glorious mud monster to send thrashing through the chicken woods towards the Cavies. The distraction worked perfectly. The Cavies diverted their force towards our makeshift beast, leaving the rats with very little opposition as they plundered the grounded ship. They returned triumphant, as did my sailor, laughing, having led the Cavies a merry chase. Within a few hours, the rats' diligence had resulted in the building of a remarkable cache of weaponry with which they successfully routed their enemy. The rats, ever egalitarian, shared their spoils in addition to the promised food and fuel. Well. We have acquired 4 bales of parabola linen. We have, our Pigman Isle spirit is now conflicted, apparently. If this reaches 0, bad things will happen on Pigman Isle. Oh no. We've gained 10 fuel, which is a phenomenal boon. We've gained 1 scintillac. Merinia is now the leading house. We've succeeded in our Veils challenge, thankfully enough. Pigman Isle's civilization is now unexceptional, apparently. And Pigman Isle might quality is now 4, vulnerable. Interesting. The House of Cavy had fallen. Merinia was triumphant. All that remained were the celebrations and the continuation of our voyage. Oh, how we feasted long into the night. Then we could invite the Rattus Faber to join us. An albino tinkerer, perhaps to replace our engineer. Or we could intercede on behalf of the Cavies. They were crushed, defeated, and I could see their spirits broken with the light of the Rat Star to guide them. They needed an advocate. We could try to make friends and intercede on the Cavies. Might not be a terrible choice to protect an overrun race. Or we could simply leave here to go see what else awaits us. Let's intercede on behalf of the Cavies, and let's see what happens. A grudging concession. I appealed to the chief engineer's moral fortitude and sense of fair play. Perhaps the Cavies suffered the loss of the light from the center of the island. Perhaps they were trying only to get it back, not steal it from the rats. The chief engineer looked troubled at the thought.
We only wanted to be left alone, he said. He looked towards the seneschal, haphazardly bandaged among the rat's other prisoners. Perhaps further negotiation is possible. As we left, we saw the albino rat timidly offering a young Cavi prisoner a piece of fresh fish. And now, things here are optimistic. We forged a peace between the rats and the Cavies. So much for peace not being an option, after all. Well, what do you know? The wide dark sea beckoned. We had eaten our fill, and our business was concluded. It was time to continue our voyage and see what other wonders and terrors still awaited us. The end. There. We finish our diary entry, and the final dregs of the rat's surprisingly good wine. They line up to salute us as we leave the victory banquet, escorting us to our ship through the foundations of the new republic. We're no longer hungry. A new nation has been founded. Very well, we formed a port report of Pigman Isle. Is that all that happens here? It would seem to be the case. Ah, interesting. There are indeed more things to happen here. We can steal the rat star. Fantastic. As it stands, however, that is not truly an option to us. As it stands, it is time to take a pause. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. This has been Vanguard of Valor, playing some Sunless Sea for you. If you have enjoyed today's episode, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Thank you again very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, bye-bye.